talk about birthplace and how you were raised, coming up, hometown.
Wow. All right, so I was born in South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, and I moved here right after Olympics, so 1996, 97.
Yeah.
I grew up in Stone Mountain, so I went to Stone Mountain Elementary, went to school there.
Yeah.
Eventually went to Stevenson Middle School, and then I went to Stevenson High School.
Stevenson.
So yeah, I'm Stevenson, born and raised, Stone Mountain. I guess I can't say born and raised, but I learned a lot. So from there, really kind of athletic in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I guess if you can count band as a sport, in track, and so leaving there.
Wait, you ran track?
I ran track, yes.
We might have run into each other.
I ran track, and I was a high jumper, and I did triple jump as well.
Wow.
So really, really active in high school, and band was everything, really.
Yeah. Talk to me about the band. I know you mentioned band a lot, so.
Band is it was my life until I came here. So basically out of high school, I actually got a full ride to about 13 universities for music. I ended up choosing Tennessee State on a full ride. So I went there for a year, and it just wasn't working out. The school, I didn't really click with the school, and their band just wasn't as competitive as I would have liked it to be.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of that year, I had about a 3-8. I was taking 18 hours. I was doing, the typical HBCU marching band practice schedule.
Yeah.
And so I ended up coming here and getting Hope.
And what year was that?
This was in fall of 2007. So I graduated high school in 2007. Yeah.
So you've seen a lot of changes around here.
Tons of changes.
Wow.
When my first summer here, actually, they didn't have doors on the math building. They were just putting glass doors on those buildings over there, and it was, I've been here for a while.
Okay. A couple of days ago, I wrote a poem about the aura of falling to rise. Is there a time in your life, a moment in time where you fail extremely hard, but you use that moment to strive to become a better person, a better man?
Only if I can tell you a childhood story.
That's fine.
All right, so one, I haven't had too many unsuccessful moments, but my mom was a hard parent. So in second grade, you remember the little recorders?
Yeah.
I always wanted one, but you couldn't get one to third grade, so I stole one. My mom does not.
Wait. Where did you steal this?
I was at prime time, YMCA, after school care, so I stole one. My mom does not play. My mom drove me to the county jail in Stone Mountain when I was in second grade, and she left me there for 30 minutes. That was the last time I ever thought about ever getting in trouble. But to parallel that also instilled a lot of do right, a lot of drive. I can't say that was picture perfect, but my mom did a pretty good job about making sure I stayed on course, stayed on track. So I can't say that there was just tons of times. I have made a lot of mistakes, tons of mistakes, mistakes that show me that sometimes my morals don't really go with other society's morals, and it's always a clash in that sense. But can't necessarily say that there was huge fails. I've been really, really blessed to say that things usually work out in my favor.
Okay. 2007, it's 2013 now, and you're the SGA president. How long have you actually been active in the Student Government Association?
4.5 years.
4.5.
So yeah, after my first semester, I decided it just wasn't going to happen.
Right.
I became an RA my second semester here. Some of the RAs were actually in SGA already. Eddie, the grad assistant now, was an RA when I was a new RA. That's back when we had maybe 16 people on staff.
Wow.
Now the staff is like 50 people.
Yes.
And so he was chief judge, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to do chief judge?" And I'm like, "Yes." Well, Brandon Denny, who was part of Sigma Nu, I think he graduated 2 years ago. He was the election chair. And he's like, "Hey, you should run for SGA." When I ran for SGA, I became election chair that year, and then the next year, and now SGA president. So I've always wanted to be active, and I kind of jumped head first, and again landed running, I guess.
Yeah.
So for a while now.
What lessons have you learned from SGA that carry over into architecture?
Politics? I mean, with SGA, you learn a lot about people, how to handle situations, how to stay calm, but you also learn how to lead as well. I think if one thing I've learned is you have to stay sure of yourself, you have to stay prepared. When I'm prepared, I'm at the top of my game. It's going to take a lot to kind of knock me off from where I'm standing. But when I'm ill prepared, I'm the shakiest person you probably know. So being able to understand how people think, how people are going to question you and interact, helps, of course, with reviews, how to state your case and how to do it eloquently, how to speak in front of people. So all that goes a part of the total presentation of what architecture is and how you function in SGA. So it parallels each other with the public speaking and the interaction, and how that hones you. That makes you more than comfortable in speaking about projects.
What lessons from architecture have carried over in the SGA?
Sacrifice. I mean, working on thesis and being SGA president is no sleep. Essentially, architecture is already no sleep, and then you add, I guess one of the top student leaders at the school is, it's a huge balance. And so with architecture, for me, it was a lesson that says, we all want to do what we want to do, but we have to do what we have to do as well. So it's a balance. I wanted to be SGA, but I needed to graduate. So how can I do both? Simply put, I have to manage both of them. And that means sometimes I'm at SGA meetings all day Thursday, and then I don't start studio till 8 o'clock. Well, I have a rule that I have to do at least 8 hours. So that puts me here until 4 in the morning, and I wake up at 7 every day just to stay on schedule. So there's some days that you just have to sacrifice for for what you really want. And that's one thing that's really transitioned over, just determination and knowing that at the end of the day, like, I'm not here to be SGA president, I'm here to graduate. SGA president is something I personally want. So that balance really kind of keeps you driven.
Yeah. What 3 things do you think SGA needs to improve on in the next school year? You're not going to be here, but I know you know a lot of the people that will be.
I think we have to work a little bit more on being efficient. Since I've come, I've always talked about being efficient, cutting down on how much time we waste, and sometimes trying to stay ahead of the curve. Interacting with other SGAs, it seems like they're always in the know of what's happening in Congress, what's going to affect the students, and it allows them to send out surveys earlier. It allows them to have more resources at hand. So, for instance, the concealed carry was huge. Mm-hmm. I got something from Georgia Tech the day before they wanted to send their letter out.
Right.
Well, I knew it was coming up, but of course, because we have a young SGA, sometimes we don't take a lot of stance on the political sides, kind of parallel or in contrast to what Georgia State would do or Georgia Tech would do since they're downtown. So I think one, staying involved in local politics, politics that affect the students. 2, I want to make sure that our allocations of student fees are continuously going in a positive direction. One thing I've stressed is that we're one of the few schools that still let students do this. They don't outsource it to like a different committee. They let SGA do it. And so with that this year, you've been in a ton of meetings where I've always talked about, like, we're going to do it efficiently. Are you using your money the right way? Are students benefiting off this? Are we just paying you money to leave campus? So continuously just, looking over fiscal budgets to make sure we're in the right way. And then 3, I think, increase how much students know about SGA. You guys have definitely helped with that, the STING. But also SGA, like, we try to come to more open houses. We try to make more organizations to go to open houses, just to show that, yes, we do all this, and yes, we deal with budgets, but we also want to make sure students have a place to go, that we're actually being that middle ground and, fighting or advocating for students and whatever they need. So those 3 things, I guess, advocacy, efficiency, and fiscal responsibility, those 3 things would be ideal.
If there's one thing that you've accomplished while being a member of SGA, what is it? What is one thing that will stick with you after you graduate and 5-10 years from now, you're coming back as an alumni? What is that one thing that will stick with you?
I guess the one thing that I could say, I guess the ability to assess and react quickly with a sound decision. I was the first person that kind of brought the idea of freshman elections to the table. So this year we had our first freshman elections. There were a lot of kinks with, exactly what they would do, but we actually had more freshmen vote for the first time this year than we've ever had. So it kind of stapled one thing that was saying, hey, you're right. Freshmen do want to be active, and we should get them early and get them involved early. But now it's like, okay, now that they're here, let's make sure they have something to do. Let's make them more engaged. So freshman elections is something that I hope continues to happen, because we do need freshmen to be actively engaged on campus. Get them early, and then they continue to matriculate and hopefully become active seniors and juniors and sophomores. So freshman elections, and hopefully a new way to look at allocating funds. So much of our money is spent on some of the same organizations, and I would like to see it evenly spaced sometimes. For instance, the band. Love the band. But yeah, so I just want to make sure that we're being fair. We're holding students responsible. We're not just giving money. So definitely the way we allocate funds, hopefully we can continue that next year.
Along with the good comes the bad. So there's always bad that accompanies good. If there's one failure that you've had as president, what is it?
It's a tricky question because sometimes I feel like when you ask a question like that, I feel like inherently I'm going to sound as like I'm blaming someone. So I'll start by saying I blame myself because I'm the leader and I signed up for this position and it's my responsibility to, at the end of the day, to get everything done. However, maybe I need to work on how much I can motivate people. The nice way, the coaching way. You know, there's different types of leaders. There's the coach who brings you up. There's the mentor who's always beside you. Then there's the person, at least by example. I think about 75% of the example, I do a lot, but I also try to give people chances because I understand that everyone may not be on the same level of responsibility as everyone else. So there was a lot of times I found myself kind of doing work of others. You have to get the work done, so no love lost, but at the same time, more sacrifice on myself. So some of the bad was that I wish we could have gotten away from the budget sometimes and really focused on advocating for students. And right now, I think SGA is going through a transition where we're trying to do both. So towards the end of this year, we start taking on more advocacy roles.
Okay.
So just trying to balance the advocacy and the fiscal budgets or the post-fiscal budgets would be the thing.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna give you 3 true or false. We're gonna have a little fun now. And and this was not in the script, so.
Okay. Okay.
Play with me. Being SGA president is harder than I thought it would be. True or false?
True, absolutely true.
Why is that?
Man, it's like Michael Jordan, right? He made it look so easy. Michael Jordan made winning championships look so easy.
Uh-huh.
But you never knew he was probably in the gym shooting 4,000 shots.
Yeah.
He was sweating and he was neglecting his family. You never did that. And the same with SGA. Brian Ellison, Jessica Harrington, Andy Cohen, Anjali Patel, all the presidents I've seen, and they made it look so effortless. Like, yeah, I'm going here, I'm going here. But then you remember that they make it look effortlessly because that's the leader in you. The leader in you is to not sweat under pressure. So being, kind of slapped in the face with all these meetings, emails, and constant lobbying is just like, oh man, is this really what it was? Senior year, I just did it last year. So definitely, absolutely true, absolutely.
All right, true or false? I know how to solve the problem of the lack of women on campus.
False. False. Until we get some, I guess, false. I don't know if you can solve that problem in 1 year. I mean, more majors, I guess, more women majors.
True or false? If I could go back 5 years, I would do the same thing over again.
False.
Really? What would you
Halfway. Oh man, we're on camera. Well, I'm gonna own this one. All right. I would actually double major.
Okay.
I'm actually going forward. I'm hopefully going to school for a master's in economics.
Okay.
I would major in accounting while doing architecture, and I would continue to do SGA. I would continue to do that, but I would double major, hands down.
All right. Now we're gonna do a series of pick ones. So I'm gonna give you 5 and you just pick one.
All right.
All right, caffeine. You're an architecture student, you gotta stay up sometimes. Soda or coffee?
Neither.
Neither?
I drink water.
Water.
I do soda sparingly, and I don't do coffee unless it's French vanilla cappuccino. I have standards, so.
Okay. All right, cool. All right, pick one. Structures or SGA budget?
SGA budget. Money is my baby.
Yeah.
Money is something I think of 24/7. Structures, that's another beast.
Okay.
That's another beast.
Pick one. 30 minutes before the review, you're either going to use the X-Acto knife or the laser cutter. 30 minutes, that's all you have.
Scissors. Yeah, sometimes it's okay to have a little sloppy work. And personally, that's my motto is to have it up there. Let's just say that. I'm not the most meticulous person when it comes to certain things, especially not models and stuff. Scissors. Scissors.
Okay, pick one. Studio starting at 1 p.m., studio starting at 2 p.m.
1.
Really?
It's a disgrace to get out at 6 p.m.
Okay,
5 o'clock is already bad into 6.
I can see
But
that.
with the time shift, it's not so bad. 5 o'clock in the fall, it's dark outside, you're bored. Personally, I would like to have it in the morning.
Okay.
8 to 12, man, I'll be up. No one, I'm there.
Because 2 p.m. gives you more time to get stuff done,
Not really. They just find other things to do. Like, you got to think, like, everything else push stuff down, right? I mean, luckily this year I only have 2 to 6. But in the 6 o'clock, who wants to do work at 5? Seriously. Like, so I work 2 to 4, 30-ish, and I chill for 5 till.
Okay, last one. A full hour of post-fiscal requests or missing sections from your drafts for a presentation.
I'll miss a section. I'll miss a section. I'll take that over post-fiscal requests. Those things can get heavy.
How do your desires to design and your desires to provide a service on campus go hand in hand?
So efficient and simple, really. So efficiency is basically about cutting wasted steps. My design of architecture is usually minimal, which is why I asked that we not put the black thing up. I don't like anything in excess. I don't like extra paper. I don't like anything. It's the minimum, and it's understanding that a space can function by itself with natural light or natural that. And so when you parallel that with actually running something, it's about cutting wasted steps. It's about understanding that if you have dedicated people, you don't really need to have 15 or 50 people. You can have 10, and they can be the most efficient 10 people you ever had. And that's how I look at architecture. You don't need all these extra things. You can have a window, but if you know that you position it on the north side instead of the south side, or with trees on this side versus that, then it allows for you to cut down on waste. It allows you to save a lot of extra time. It's hard finding that sweet spot, but definitely keeping things simple and efficient is kind of how they parallel each other.
How many times has an architecture student been SGA president at SPSU?
I'm the first.
Really?
Yeah, I'm the first.
Wow, that's impressive. That's impressive.
It's a feat.
So you set the bar because, so we've had vice presidents, maybe, secretaries, I know, and but never a president from the architecture department.
Not to any of my knowledge, almost guaranteed, no.
So what does your family here think about that feat?
I'm just the go-to guy, really. Architecture students have a way of bringing you down, like, you know what important. But when things need to get done, for instance, if a project needs to be installed outside, that's something they're trying to do. Kevin, who do I talk to? Who do I talk to about graduation? Who do I talk to about parking tickets? I'm the go-to guy. So it's one of those things where it's like, you're just Kevin. But my teachers always say, well, maybe we should keep you around one more year since you're SGA president and you're important for the school. I'm not that important, or I don't need to graduate, but it's a balance. They definitely make sure you're like, you're definitely still a student, but you definitely understand that it comes at a responsibility, and with that, a little extra look for you to kind of lead in the way you need to lead.
So you obviously can handle a major workload. How do you manage to do it? I mean, we're talking about all-nighters here, and then handling budgets up 500,000, 600,000 there. How does this happen? How are you able to do that? Because you're managing on one end, and then you're having to put together these projects that you have to spend a lot of time on the other end.
You have to be a little mean, right? Like, you have to say, okay, look, in order for me to function and be prepared, because you don't want to present a bad brand or yourself, if you think of yourself as a brand, you don't want to present it in a bad way. So under no circumstances will you get a meeting with me if you email me 2 days before the meeting. Right. My deadline is the Monday before, or the Friday before if it's important. And I keep everything on the calendar. Everything is in my BlackBerry. I have a BlackBerry again.
I totally agree.
But everything's there, and I do it all like that. I mean, because you're already sacrificing so much of yourself. It's not fair for someone to command that much more time of me. And I make sure I have time for everything, but I also need to know that I have to plan accordingly. So I knew I was meeting with you today. I woke up at 6 to do work. So I have to make up my time somehow. So it's not fair for you to email me, say, if you want us to do this tomorrow and you email me today, sorry, next week. And that's just the way it is. Sometimes I've not had meetings because they've emailed me 2 days before their deadline, and it's just not fair to me. As a student leader with a heavy workload, you already make a lot of sacrifices, and it's no point, you're already breaking your neck to barely get through. It's no point of adding extra stress on yourself by continuously letting people get away with being irresponsible with their time and your time as well.
Okay. Let's talk architecture. What goal did you have set for yourself before coming into 5th year? A goal that you wanted to complete, and did you actually complete that goal?
With architecture? Yes. I got my, I proved to my thesis advisor that the highway was a bad place and maybe we should take it out. And so my thesis is actually conceptualizing what would happen when Atlanta gets mass transit and we get buses and we get light rail. When no one needs their car anymore, what happens to the connector? Like, what happens to that wasted space? So that's my thesis, looking at that. That was my goal. I'm there. It took a long time. Ideally, I would have liked to finish maybe 2 weeks ago so I have more time, but that was my main goal, and I kind of got there. Went the rough way, but maybe I'm coming up on it. I guess we'll see in 13 days if I was on the right track.
Your tenure as SGA president, before it began, what was a goal that you had set coming in that you accomplished or didn't accomplish, but the big goal, the big one?
Increase transparency with SGA, as well as increase how efficient we are allocating the funds. Transparency about 80%, only because sometimes the minutes weren't up there. But I tried to make that up by being readily accessible to anyone who asked, and I think that I did a decent job of that. And budget, I guess we'll see next year. If you guys have a bad budget, then follow up this video and say Kevin did a horrible job. But hopefully, definitely pulling reports every month, asking for detailed expenditure sheets of kind of how people are spending these funds. That's something I really hope. And we cleaned up a lot of the Constitution. So those are 3 of my goals that I wrote down actually in May. Cleaning up the Constitution, making sure we were spending, and transparency. And I had to rate myself actually about 2 months ago, and I gave myself B's. I like to give myself A's, but let's just be honest, there's some things don't go as smooth as you would like them, so yeah.
A couple of days ago, I'm riding downtown with a couple of friends. One of them is a 4th year student in architecture, and I'm talking to him about some of the stuff that I'm doing around campus, and he starts to laugh. He says, you know, this is what you can do when you're not in the architecture department. What is your take on this? Because there's this perception that architecture students are in this bubble and they never come out. Yet I count 3 architecture students. I don't know, maybe my count is off, but 5. I counted at least 3. Oh, so we have 5 on the executive board?
Well, 5 on the entire kind of voting members board.
Right, but I mean 3 that have big positions.
So yeah, 3 with big positions. I would say that's a lie. That's an absolute lie. And I think that anyone who tells you that, unless they're working, may not know what hard work is, or may just be absolutely lazy. I think it's insane to say, for anyone to limit themselves to say, I'm doing so much here that I can't do somewhere else. I mean, think about, how do architects get so good at drawing if they're only drawing buildings, if they're only doing AutoCAD every day? You make time for the stuff you want to do. I don't understand how most architecture students can be so introvert when you're designing spaces for the public. You know, how can you ever say this is a great public space if you're not going out, interacting with public, interacting with people, seeing what they like to do? I just think that it's impossible. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I've had the best grades. I'm not an A student. I've managed almost a 3.0, so I'm right there on the board. Hopefully this semester pushes me over, but look at the things I've done as well. I've made it through. I've not taken a year off. I've done everything and more on this campus, straight through, and I'm still here the same 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away from graduation. I think that's an absolute lie. I think that if you want to do it, you'll make time, and I think that if something monopolizes your time that much, it may be okay. You may really, really love it. And sometimes it does take that kind of commitment. It does. I wish I had more time for architecture, but I want to do more stuff, even more. I've never ever in my life been a student who's went home and just did homework. I've always done football when I was a little kid, track, band, and as you see, I'm active now. So I just don't believe it. I don't believe it at all. I've been able to hang with the best of them in there as far as grades go. Maybe not design, but definitely as grades go, and I've done just as much as them. And so to parallel that, imagine what I could do if I didn't do architecture. I have tons of goals that I would have done if I didn't have architecture by now. Goals that I can't wait till May so that I can pick those up as well as architecture and drop something else. I think that you just have to, you have to figure out what you like. So I wouldn't believe any of that.
All right, so this major architecture requires self-reliability, multitasking, and because of that, do you think that students in the architecture department have an advantage when it comes to running for an office in SGA because architecture requires so much of you?
Yes. I think just because of the rigor of the program, you learn so much. It's fast-paced, and you have to think quick. So it allows you to be able to a little bit quicker than I guess maybe the average, and it makes you a little bit more competitive. You also know that, where you turn in a paper and it's just a C or it's just a D or a B. You turn in a project here, you're standing up for 30 minutes, and you're really defending yourself, but it makes you comfortable with your position. It makes you research. It makes you that much more sure of yourself when you are prepared. And so I think that when you're running for that position, and maybe when you actually get the position, is when it applies more. Once you get it, it allows you to be properly prepared, and it's like, no, I'm standing my ground, and you take your feelings out of it. You're not so sensitive that someone just said, oh, that's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. It's like, no, my teachers probably, I probably had a worse review. So it happens. That's anything design or, opinion related is going to get scrutinized. That's just the life we live.
What are 3 things that you would like to see happen for the architecture students or the department over the next 3 to 5 years after you're gone?
I would like to see more design bill. It's really happening now where the students want to design things, but right now, we're trying to get the capital up that allows us to do these projects. So when you go to Beltline, Georgia Tech has the money to where they can build installations, and it helps kind of bring the school up. I think that's something that we've really been getting into. We have the new 5-axis router that we've all been using, and we're getting there, but I think to make a large scale. 2, I would say publicity, but this semester has been amazing for the architecture program. We've had a teacher win a competition, Professor Uden, and he's going back to his home country to see his building actually get built. We've had teachers, their work shown in the High Museum. We've had tons of gallery space. Professor Troma, teacher of architecture faculty, teacher of the year award. So publicity really, really helps us, and I think those 2 things. I don't really have a third because they've tweaked so many things over the years. The program is really good about listening to us and trying to figure out, exactly what do the students want, how can we balance that with what the industry needs, and how we can mesh the 2. So you'll see definitely changes in our curriculum that makes us more competitive. The introduction of more computer 3D modeling software, and that type of computer programming has really helped us over the years. So, we're definitely making strides that, maybe 4 years ago seemed like, that's where we wanted to be. So I think we're definitely making a checklist, and we're, the department's been really, really good at getting that kind of taken care of. So.
What elements or concepts of architecture, elements and concepts of design can be taken out of this building and applied to other areas of life?
Excuse me, sorry. Paulin, can I ask you to elaborate a little bit? It's a big question.
Well, when I was in architecture, they would always tell us to, let's say we were doing a site analysis, to study the things going on in the site more, the movement, the people that live there, the building across the street, the economics of the, things like that. So if you had to take one of those out of the program and apply it to another area of life, maybe it's raising a child, or how you spend your money, or how you study for class.
I would just say life in general, right? I mean, just the realization that, for instance, the built environment, not only does it take a lot of manpower, but it takes a lot of knowing your surroundings, appreciating that not just, pretty materials go into making a space great. If you think about some of your fondest memories, I guarantee you can tell me where you were. Nothing's without. It's almost like for instance, before architecture, this is how I thought. You see a pretty picture, you're like, I'm gonna take a picture, right? You don't realize that not just what you're looking at, but everything around you. So the color, him sitting right here on the floor, right? Now, put your hands up, block your peripheral vision, and take the same shot. You won't see the same thing. You take something so for granted that you actually can see this far, and all that goes into making this experience. When you remember a vivid imagination, you don't just remember the person you're staring at. You remember the Christmas tree in the back, the present right here on the floor, what the dog was doing that made it so funny. But all that goes into an experience. And I think that with architecture, it kind of, all of that, not just how you move in a space, how you experience a space, but how those materials come together, how all that plays a role. And in life, the same thing. Like, to get that balance is how all those things come together, how money, how life, how all that comes together to work in your favor. And it makes you appreciate the simple things, the hard work that it takes to get there. And so I think it has definitely put a value on how I kind of view things and how I interact with people, because I've learned to appreciate that people take time out of their day to do what they want to do. And you should respect that about people.
You almost killed my next question. What is architecture to you? Everybody has their own personal.
That's a heavy question. In 5 years, I guess I thought I would have a better answer. But for me, architecture, man, I don't know. I'm still learning that. Right now, I would say architecture, it encompasses, right now, me. So much of you and how you experience life comes out in your architecture. So right now, for me, architecture is simple. It's about stripping away all the gold and the pretty colors and all that stuff and just saying, this is what I have, and this is why it works. The extra stuff, the materials and the gold pillows and everything else you want to add, yeah, that makes it, a little bit better. But, do I feel at home in this space, or does it feel like a cave, or am I afraid? Like, to me, architecture is more about an experience, and for me, that's what it is. That's what life is about: experience, 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 experience. So, I hope that answers somehow, but maybe so.
If I told you that I want to make an impact on this campus, you say?
I say write your goals down, put them on the door before you leave, and don't take no for an answer. In 4.5 years, every time I've made a goal, I've had one goal that was not checked off the list. That recently was checked off the list.
What was that?
I'm not at liberty to say right now. But it was checked off the list, and I helped do a lot for it, and I didn't stop. You don't stop. If you really want it, it's a goal. If you really, really want it, and all goals should be something you want, and maybe, just maybe, you should probably try to accomplish it. So just write your goals down. They always told me 1% of the top 1% of the richest people in the world write their goals down. Not remember them, not put them in your phone. Physically write them down and put them somewhere where you leave every single day. So every day you leave your house, you remember, if I'm not on track to accomplish my 3.0, to accomplish my SGA president, then I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And if you feel like you're wasting time, you either need to reassess what you're doing or reassess your goals. So write your goals down and go after it.
This one off the paper, word for word, because I want to make sure I get this right. This is one of my favorite questions. Because of your major responsibilities and your ability to handle them, your peers look up to you. They see you as a model of success. And I truly believe that leaders, pioneers, are naive to their success, which is a very good thing, To any degree, do you feel the same way? Do you feel that you are a role model for other students? Why or why not?
That's a very important question. I guess it depends if you think you're an important person. For me, honestly, what I do is normal. I feel that everyone should go after their dreams. It just so happens that I might have a lot more than the average person. Maybe I'm influential. I wouldn't say I'm a role model. That's too much of a burden for me to carry because I do make mistakes, and I just don't want to put myself in that light. But I would say that maybe I am influential because I'm able to balance such a hard load, and I'm able to kind of keep it together when it's so much. For that reason, I do say I am influential to someone who might want to be out there doing whatever they want to do. Someone who wants to find balance. That's something I really push. I'm kind of like a tree hugger in a sense, so Zen here, balance here. Like, that's my thing. Who do I look up to?
Oh, wait a minute now.
I thought it was the end of your question.
You about to take over my next.
Oh, I take off. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, let's jump to that. Let's. I'm sorry.
All right, wait. All right, so we're gonna wait. I have a question that's gonna follow that one.
Okay.
All right, so here we go. As the head of the staff, I want to touch on this because I've seen this before with you, and also this is something that's new to me. But I've had this. As head of the staff, you have bad times, and you need to vent. And when you need to vent, you need to have somebody that's trustworthy, somebody that you can talk to. And I have that person. Who is someone that you can vent to? Somebody that, when it's just like, all right, SJ, general body meeting's over. All right, I'm speed down, let's go. Like, you would not believe what just happened.
Okay. I never can answer your questions head on, man. Never. Okay, disclaimer. I believe that sometimes we have friends that are used for, different things. Mm-hmm. All right, so for a while, it was my girlfriend. I don't have a girlfriend right now. But for a while, it was my girlfriend. And honestly, I really don't like to complain because I feel like first world problems. That's something I really try to tell myself, like, first world problems. I have water, I have clothes, like, everything I'm doing right now is because I put myself in this position. And if you have to complain, sometimes are tougher than others, obviously. But if you have to complain and it's really that nagging, then maybe we need to fix a few things. I'm really more of a balanced person. So if I feel like something's really eating away at me, I'm either gonna axe it or I'm gonna change it. But if I had to choose, my girlfriend, who I still talk to a lot, her, and then I guess you have those friends who be like, man, guess what happened today? Man, let me tell you about this. Like, so whoever I talk to for the moment, really, I have a best friend now. She's graduated a few years ago from Georgia State, and we've been best friends since 7th grade. So she'll get some text messages like, man, this is a long one. Let's get ready for it. So, but sometimes I just feel like, wow, I just spit. Sorry. Sometimes I feel like, I'm out here alone. You do feel like you're out there alone sometimes. And I go to the gym, I work out. Sometimes I just feel like I can't talk to anybody, and I never want to come off as someone who's complaining because I'm very sarcastic. And honestly, if someone did that to me, I'd say, well, you put yourself in that position, and you don't have to do anything. Right. So I try to handle it and take responsibility on myself to kind of shore up those things, and that's kind of how I deal with that. A few friends, girlfriends, and then just working out.
All leaders have had to follow at some point in their lives.
That's my question.
Who do you admire? Who do you follow? Who do you still follow to this day?
I'll get personal, okay? I'll start with saying Arthur Vaughn in the controller office. He does so much. If you know Arthur, you know he's here, but he also coaches soccer. He's a DJ, like, he's everywhere. He's very, very active in the community. He's been a mentor for a very long time. Back when I started at Talent at 10th. He helped us organize. He helped us get alcohol awareness seminars here. He knows so many people. And two, I'd say I'd follow from the lack thereof. My dad was never there. So a lot of the things that I didn't have growing up kind of guided me to the point where I need to be everything that I thought I probably should have had. And so that's just tons of history books, tons of Martin Luther Kings and the Malcolm X's of the world, how people respected him. So through the lack thereof, it really guided me to say, okay, you definitely don't need to be like that. What are the things that made you sad as a kid, that your dad wasn't there for, what kind of lesson that was for you. And so all of that kind of turmoil and angst and hurt and, all the emotions that you go through when you're a kid, that kind of put me on track keeps me so focused that I do not want to return to something that I experienced, and I don't ever want to make someone experience that as well.
You are graduating in May, which means no more SGA, no more architecture. I mean, and as exciting as that sounds, a part of you is gonna, there's gonna be some emptiness there.
Yes.
And although I'm a year away, that pressure's on.
Scary.
I can kind of feel it. It's scary, just knowing that you won't be able to do those same things anymore. How are you dealing with that?
Of course I'm excited. I'm ready to go. But I would be remiss if I could say that I wasn't sad that SGA was over. I mean, 4.5 years of my life is here. And then a year of being at SGA is like, and at the same time, like I said, I've never been the person to just go home. And so I already have a list of things I need to, that I'm looking forward to doing. I've mentoring on the weekends, getting back into painting. One dream that I do have a goal. One goal that I never ever did was playing a symphony. So I got my trombone fixed, and I'm actually gonna pick back up my horn and try to audition for a local symphony in Cobb County, and hopefully maybe one day make it to Atlanta Symphony Orchestra. That's a goal of mine. But painting, getting back into the music, and I have a love for watches, and I actually design a lot of those. And so actually getting to model those and kind of market that, I think that would be ideal. I have tons of resources and people I've met that can give me the parts and the materials and the time. And so ideally, I would like to manufacture my own watches, or at least inspire a line of watches. So I'm waiting. I'm ready, because as much as I love what I do, I have so many more things I feel like I have not kind of stepped into yet. And it's just a part of experience. And I have books of watches at home from everything you can think of. And anyone in that building can tell you that that's my life, watches, and everything about them. So I can't wait to get back into music. I can't wait to paint, and I can't wait to design. Design freely, and not have to worry about someone critiquing, and just designing and finding it on my own through my own expertise. So I can't wait. And I love community service. And this year with Thesis and SGA President, I haven't been able to do it like I want to do it, but definitely going back. I want to coach football too, so
Wow.
coach like Little League football. So
Yeah.
I definitely want to do that.
Some advice that you would have for the upcoming president? What's some suggestions, some advice that you could give to him?
Hold people accountable. When you make a decision, stick to your guns. One thing I learned as president, yes, you don't vote, but you set the tone. And I started this year off because I know I can be very, very aggressive. Oh, maybe I just, bring them along. They'll get used to checking their emails, and no. By the time October came around, I cut it clean. I was like, look, this is how it's gonna go, because I was trying to help people out and just were not coming along the way I would like for them to do. When you make a decision, you have to stick to it. So many people blame our current real president, President Obama, for so many things that happens, and it's fine. As president, you don't get to vote, but you do set the tone, and you set the agenda, and you set things in motion. And so one thing that it really clicked to me is like, my vision for SGA is my vision. And it's up to me to make sure that they all know my vision. Now, whether or not they actually vote in my favor, that's one thing. But when I propose things and when I do things, it's about following my focus. So I would say, advice to President-elect Austin Clayton would be to stick to your guns, definitely. Hold people accountable, and don't take excuses. Don't do someone else's work just because you have to. Of course it has to get done, but don't do it without bringing it to their attention that someone had to hold their weight while they took the day off. Because that's not what anyone's compensated for, and that's not what you signed up for. And for that reason, you might as well impeach them and just do their job completely. It would be better use of the way we compensate people. And that's something that I learned quick this semester, a lot quicker than I did last semester. And I wish I would have learned that a lot sooner, that people have to be held responsible.
At some point, our work here is done, or we have to leave our work here. What do you think people will say about Kevin White? After you left, let's say next year, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, what do you think will be the lasting memory of your legacy on this campus?
Yikes. Go big or go home, I guess, right? Like, got an SGA, and I did exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to change the Constitution. I wanted to change finances. I came to school, and I wanted to make sure somehow I knew everyone. I was orientation leader for 3 years. Hopefully my legacy is one he's really, really consistent. We can count on him to get things done, and he was good at time management. I don't need, plaques and trophies and all that, but I would like to come back 3 years from now and know that they're still doing freshman elections, and that now, they even more positions. That's something that I personally wrote last year before I became president and made sure that it was in place this year. That would be ideal. Just one little thing. It doesn't have to be recognition, but just to know that started with you. Or the way they approach things was because of this. And maybe I come back in 5 years and architecture students are running the school. Maybe that's our dream. And it's okay. Well, maybe Kevin was the beginning of that with the other groups of students as well, of course. But maybe Kevin was kind of the face of that transition into public life at Southern Poly. So. All right, I got 5 seconds to talk about anything I want to talk about. You ready for this? Yeah. Sure. I graduate May, I don't know. My project due April 25th, so it shows you that I'm really thinking about my project. I'm getting a master's in economics, hopefully, all right? I'm a year off from my high school goals. I was supposed to graduate last year with architecture, but transferring or whatever. More seconds.
Go ahead.
Be great people. Stop being weak. Because the world makes enough excuses for you, and you shouldn't have your friends make excuses for you as well. That's all. Amen. Done.
It's a wrap.
Woo.
Now the closing statement, Randy? That's the way to cook it.
Yeah. That's the way to cook it, Corolla.
I appreciate you guys, man. All of you. It takes a lot to push visions and dreams and things of that nature. And it's not just about the people that are in your organization, it's about the people in other organizations that can help with that. So to have that support come from other areas is big, because at the end of the day, what are we here for? Are we here to just go to class and go home, or are we here to make a difference? Because what we do here is practice for what happens when we get out there. I mean, that's what it's about. Like, what you do here is basically a preview of what's going to happen when you get out there in the real world. So do something. Don't just sit in the student center all day and just hang out and watch videos. Make it happen on this campus, because this is it. I mean, this campus is growing, and you want to be a part of that. One day, who knows? This may be UGA. It might be just as big, and the people that helped make that happen, those are the people that get that recognition. Those are the people that are appreciated because you helped. And like you said, some of the stuff that you put into action, you'll never see. Some of the stuff that I put into action, I'll never see. But it's about the people that come after us that are able to get that, to have the opportunities that we didn't have. That's what it's all about.
That's like the most important thing as a leader. I know this is kind of like extra, but that's like the most important thing. Like, I tell everyone, please put this on the tape, please. I absolutely love Julie Blakely. She was the best secretary I could ever imagine in the world of secretaries. Like, if I had $1 million, I'd pay her. Why? Because when you're a leader, you don't realize how many people are helping you. How many people have done so much to get you where you get. I seen a play at the beginning of this semester. It's called Good People at Alliance Theater. And what it was that some guy was really successful, and he treated this one woman who never got out of the hood or the rough place really, really bad. And it came down to, it was like, well, you had a kid and it was your fault. And she simply said this: do you really think that was his son? And she was like, that was your son. But I did what I did because you wanted to be successful. Because I care more about how successful you were than I was. So she held that secret. And so just to say, how many people have sacrificed something they personally want to see you happy, to see you where you are? That's what keeps you humble, right? So like, when you're a leader, remember, somebody didn't run for SGA president because they thought that maybe you would do a better job. Somebody didn't run for editor of the Sting because of the same thing, because they believed who you were and they downplayed their own abilities. Like, so as a leader, I think it's very important, from the person who put up that one sign for you to the person who did everything, to remember that, like, people keep you going. Julie kept me going. Tons of emails reminding me of all the things that I could not fit in my brain. And it kind of parallels it. It definitely puts things in perspective that, like, to be really successful, you have to have a team. And even though we as the leaders get like that front, all that shine and all that glory, as leaders, it's our responsibility to go back and say, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you. Because even without this opportunity, you being a leader, somebody wouldn't be listening to me right now. I'd be another face, and hopefully maybe some freshman's like, oh, Kevin's right, and I'm gonna be like Kevin or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, someone has an opportunity now. So you remember that, like, wherever you go, you're there because of a team, because at night, someone watched out for you. So I think that as leaders, that has to be the most important thing you could ever take away from leading anyone. That someone sacrificed something for you to be there, and you better not disappoint them.
I mean, you guys are almost.
You want to borrow my mic?
But that, as we, oh my bad. That, as we say, is right. That's right.